Some breaking news to bring you now, and the Vatican has put out the death certificate of Pope Francis, and it reveals that he died of a stroke, followed by a coma and also irreversible heart failure as well. That coming from Professor Andrea Arcangeli at the Vatican, who's the director of the Directorate of Health and Hygiene there. So just to confirm, the Pope's cause of death has been put on his death certificate by the Vatican as stroke, cerebral stroke, they say, coma and irreversible heart failure, confirming that he did die at 7:35 this morning, and his death was determined by electrocardiogram recording. Let's go to the Vatican City now. Our Europe correspondent Adam Parsons is there. And Adam, I'm sure you just heard the Vatican confirming the cause of death of Pope Francis.
Yeah, that is right. And it's understood that this is not directly connected to the lung condition that hospitalised Pope Francis for 5 weeks. That this is a stroke that has befallen the Pope this morning after he had woken up. So he had woken up and then this stroke happened, a cerebral stroke as it's called, and he fell into a coma. And it is believed that this is, if perhaps connected in some way, not directly a manifestation of that pneumonia that hospitalised him for so long and which imperilled his life without any doubt earlier this year. So this is a man who, and in his death certificate there is a note about saying that he had had these previous breathing difficulties. But this is a man who clearly had had significant health problems, as we know, and who was at 88 years of age, very much in later life. So he was frail, he had been in ill health, and he had been recently hospitalised. But Matt, as I said in that report, there is still here in St. Peter's Square a sense of genuine shock and surprise mixed with that sadness, for the simple reason that just hours before his death, the Pope had been out in the square, greeting people, moving around and appearing active. This was clearly somebody who wasn't in good health, but nor was it somebody who appeared to be completely incapacitated. You will remember the last months of the life of John Paul II, when he looked exceptionally ill whenever he was seen in public. This was not the image that people took of Pope Francis. And so there is, I think, a sense here that they had not seen this coming, that those in the Vatican and the Catholics around the world had been steeled for the death of Pope Francis a month or so ago. But this time it has taken them and perhaps the Catholic Church by surprise. So what happens next is that he will lie in his apartment until probably in a couple of days' time he'll be brought here to St. Peter's Basilica in the heart of the Vatican, probably the best known Catholic church in the world, perhaps the best known of all churches. And he will lie here until his funeral, which will take place, we don't yet know whether that will be Friday, Saturday or Sunday of the coming weekend. Now, very unusually, for the first time in over a century, Pope Francis will not be buried here at the Vatican. Instead, he will be interred at another church, a little farther away in Rome, the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, a beautiful church actually, and a favourite of his, to such an extent that when Pope Francis was discharged from hospital and was on his way back here to the Vatican, he specifically asked if he could be taken to Santa Maria Maggiore in order to give thanks and to worship on his way back to the Vatican. He will, so that funeral will happen, as I said, in the coming weekend. We're not quite sure when. And then there will be a period leading up to the conclave. And that is likely now, we understand, not to happen before, probably will happen or start on May the 5th. The conclave is when the cardinals gather from all around the world to elect the new pope. And that, to be blunt, is when religion, and sorrow and grief and mourning will blend with politics, because over there in the inside the Vatican side, it's very hard in the Sistine Chapel. Those cardinals will meet and try to anoint the next person who will lead the church, the head of the Catholic Church. And that is when the papacy does show its political side. These conclaves are famous for the white smoke and black smoke that indicates whether or not a new pope has been chosen. And that is why this process that follows a pope's death is so extraordinary, because it does blend that trauma, that profound sense of loss that Catholics will feel with the move towards a new leader. At the moment, this is a church with no leader, and symbolically, brass doors in the Vatican have been left half open. We enter a period of what is called the empty seat until a new leader is selected.